So when I turn to my screen, do that split view, inshallah, yeah?
Fine, we're live.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to our Friday night masjid talk. Normally that we would be doing at Masjid al-Huda in Schaumburg, Illinois. This is part of the Khalid bin Waleed, a sword of Mettle of a Sword series. And inshallah, we will begin we will begin the session with dua, and inshallah end with dua. If just a disclaimer, I'm issuing, if this presentation is too long, please like and subscribe on our Masjid Talks channel, as the videos stay up there and you can continue watching at your pace. Jazakallah khair. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة من كل عين لامة. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزينة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Irfan Shahid, and you are watching the sort of a Mettle of a Sword series, Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu an. We left last week at the conclusion of the great calamity. And what is the great calamity in Islam? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that my death is the greatest calamity you will face. So in the linguistics, in the terminologies that Muslims use, we refer to the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the great calamity. So we left off at the great calamity, and what I'm going to cover, inshallah, today, it's a lot. We're going to get up to we're going to try to finish the Battle of Yamama, and we are going to try to connect this to our aqidah, our reality today, not just understanding it, right? The purpose of this series has always been that we build ourselves as statesmen, as Khalid radiallahu anh. So if you are watching this, you are Khalid. Jazakumullah khair. And inshallah, with that, I will begin. So I know that in our studies as Muslims, when we read hadith and when we read tafsir, we refrain our utmost and our best from filling in the blanks, right? We don't use our own brain to assume stuff, right? We don't connect, we don't add to stories, we don't embellish, we don't assume the context if we don't know it. And a lot of times when you don't know the context, these hadith and these stories, they become very isolated to just the lesson that you are being given that night or in that lecture or in that study session or whatever it is. You get a myopic view of the story. And sometimes what happens is you you think, oh, didn't they think of these things? Why did this calamity happen? Why did this why wasn't this analyzed or thought about? And many times this is all just shaitan, or this is our own weakness, that we don't give the credit, or we think we might know better, and we didn't, like, why didn't the Sahaba uh, analyze these angles? So if we don't know the whole story, then the good thing we do as Muslims is we don't add to it. But these questions linger, things, shaitan comes, does waswasa, and tries to take advantage of those situations. So a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I'm going to start with clearing up a lot of the misassumptions that people have about why this huge initial fitna happened with the apostates, the Rida Wars. And this is where we're going to start, inshallah. So if we look at my screen here, this is Medina, right? So now what I want to emphasize is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he started dropping hints about the great calamity, his own death. So he started dropping hints to the Sahaba about it. May Allah be pleased with all of them. He started dropping hints, alluding to it during the great Hajj. During the last Hajj, he tells people, observe me and act according to how I'm, observe my actions and ask questions if you need to. This might be my last Hajj. When Abu Musa al-Ashri is being sent to Yemen, he tells him, I might not see you again, or this will be the last time I see you. The next time you come, perhaps I will not be there. He takes a trip out to the battlefield of Uhud and says salam to the Ahlul Khubur, the people of the grave, the Shuhada of Uhud. Abbas radiallahu anhu has a dream where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he narrates to Rasulullah that I saw in a dream that the earth was being pulled up to the sky by tight, big, heavy ropes, big, strong, heavy ropes that were attached from the sky to the ground, and the earth was being pulled up to the sky. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it means the passing of your nephew, right? So these ideas were, he was preparing the Sahaba for this. And during the last sermon, there wasn't just one last sermon. There were many speeches that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving during the Hajj, because 100,000 Muslims had accompanied Rasulullah during that Hajj. And he started dropping hints and guidance to the Sahaba and to the Muslims at large, saying that do not apostate after my passing. Do not cut off do not go and apostate by striking each other's necks, right? So, and do not apostate after my death. Do not turn away from the religion after my death. He started dropping these. And so the Sahaba Ikram, they are very smart. They know what this means. It means that they need to start preparing for this, because this is a warning, a prophecy, and a warning. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, do not do this. So it obviously means that Rasulullah is warning the Sahaba, and the Sahaba have to now be ready. They have to be ready because they know that apostasy is going to come after the death of the Prophet. That's why he's warning against it, right? So this was not a situation where the Muslims were caught off guard or anything like that. So I'm going to start giving the events of what happens. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after his passing, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is given the bay'ah. And we're not going to go into the details of that because we're going to stay on point with the story of Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu and how this plays out with his story and our perspective of being statesmen for Islam. Now, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu knew at the very beginning that the tribes would have to come and give allegiance to him. Just as in the year 9 of prophethood, all the tribes of the Hijaz came and gave allegiance to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu also knew. There's a very, very strange climate at this time. Everybody who wanted to apostate They cannot apostate openly. If they do, there is a large army of Osama bin Zayd that is ready to go and fight. So there are lots of calculations being taken place. All the tribes are taking calculations that want to rebel. They're saying that if we mobilize now, Osama bin Zayd is there. We have to wait till he leaves. So, but we have to keep small pockets in secret locations that we can capitalize on Medina being defenseless. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh is not unaware of that, and neither are the Sahaba. They, as the delegations were coming in to give bayah to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he had sent off the women and children to the mountaintops, into camps, hidden camps in the forest, or the security of the masjid itself. So they were aware. So when these tribes were coming in, they were noticing that Medina was empty. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh had also asked all those beautiful 100,000 hajis that had accompanied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be ready and be cautious of rebellions and apostates, and band together and do what you can if you are in the position to do so. If you are not, then please come to Medina to support Medina. So they were not unaware of this. They were very smart and they knew all of this, and they planned accordingly. Now, how does the whole mess start? We have in the Hijaz, if you look at my screen, in this Hijaz, there are pockets of tribes all over, right? And I'm going to give you a screenshot of where the tribes are. Okay, you have, this is, so you look at Medina, you got Makkah, you got Taif over here if you're looking at my mouse. Okay, this middle area is called Najd, right? Najd, right? And this northern area is called Nafud. This is the desert of Nafud, An-Nafud. This area here is called Yamama, right? And this is Oman, this is Hadramaut, this is Mohra, and this is Sana, right? This is Tihama. This coastline all the way down, this is called Tihama. So these are things you should know about the geography of the Hijaz. So Nafud, Yamama, Bahrain, Najd, Oman, Mohra, Hadramaut, Sana, Tihama, right? And then you have obviously the Haram, which is Makkah. So that is there. Now, this here picture gives you a picture of who the rebels were and the false prophets that were rising against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslims. So in this area of Nafud, or in this central western area, you have Tulayha bin Khuwailid. He's a false prophet. You have Malik bin Nuwaira, who actually accepted Islam at the hands of the Prophet, and he is a tax collector amongst his people, and he gives his tax back to his tribe, and he says, we don't need to pay zakat to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Okay, over here in Yamama, you have Musaylima, who's the famous liar. He's actually started claiming his prophethood. He's amongst the tribes of Banu Hanifa. You have some of these other guys are not that well known. Al-Mundhir bin Numan, Ashad bin Qais. These guys, they don't bring strong rebellions, even though there's really wild stories about all of this. Al-Aswad al-Ansi, this guy's total whack job. Beautiful story. Inshallah, we'll do a complete series on these false prophets and rebels at a later date. But what we need to know for today's lesson is what's going on over here. Okay, this north and this northeastern area. This is what concerns us today. So what concerns us is Musaylima the liar. What concerns us is Malik bin Nuwaira and Tulayha bin Khuwailid, right? So now I'm going to go back to oops. Okay. Okay, now Osama bin Zayd's army is dispatched to Tabuk, and they go out and they are commanded, but they were commanded by the Prophet ﷺ to go up to the border where kind of Jordan, Syria is, and subdue the tribes up north, and they do a really good job of that, and they bring back a lot of taxes and zakat as well, right? But while they are gone, that's what's the concern, because Medina is defenseless, and all the Muslims who had gone to Hajj, they're kind of, they've exerted a great deal, and they used all their wealth and effort to go accompany the Prophet ﷺ to the Hajj, and Medina is defenseless. The Sahaba, they know that. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh knows that, and they ask Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, don't dispatch the army. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh does not care. He says, no, this was the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I will not stop that command. I will stick to that command. You want me to revoke a command of Rasulullah? No way, not happening. So they all understood that Medina was going to be defenseless. They all understood that the tribes are going to try to capitalize on this. And despite that, the army still went out. And alhamdulillah, they did their job. They're out in the northern Tabuk region. They're doing their job. And Khalid radiallahu anh is, we don't know if we assume that he is with them. There's no information, no specific text that says that he's with them, but we assume that he's with them. So within 2 weeks of the bay'ah being given, these three tribes, these guys are like just sharpening their teeth, they're sharpening their knives, they're plotting what to do. Banu Ghatafan, Hawazin, and Banu Tay. Okay? They assemble at a place called Dhu Qisa. Dhu Qisa is about 20 to 30 miles east of Medina. They don't assemble a huge, massive force. They assemble like 150, 200, we don't know the exact numbers. Okay? And what they do is they say, if we bring too many people, Abu Bakr will become aware, and the Muslims will become aware, and the army of Osama or whether some other army will mobilize, and they will block us from taking over Medina. So we can't plot a huge operation. Let's see if we can hit Medina when it's defenseless with just a small force. So where is this? Okay, so let's go back to our map of okay. And come on, Google, why are you being slow? Sorry, guys, Google is being slow. It is not orienting. It's not loading my. Let's go to the other one. This one is loaded. Okay, so this is the place here. Dhu Qisa. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is Medina. This is Medina, alhamdulillah, you guys can all see, we have Medina here, right? This little yellow dot, this is Dhu Qisa, okay? So what they do is they hide maybe 150, 200 guys over here. We don't know how many exact, maybe 80, we don't know, okay? And three of their leaders, Banu Ghatafan and Banu Tay and Bani Asad, they go back and they go to give the pledge to Abu Bakr, but they say, hey, you know what? We're not going to pay the zakat. And they were really apostating. They were just looking for a reason to start some mess, right? So they leave refusing to pay the zakat, and that has become apostasy now. Okay, that has become apostasy, and it wasn't just all of Banu Ghatafan that was there, because Banu Ghatafan is a very large tribe. It was a sub-clan called Banu Fazara. And Banu Fazara, their leader was Uyayna. Uyayna, he comes with a few leaders from Banu Tay and Banu Asad, and they have basically they scouted the insides of Medina. They've noticed that Medina is empty and that the army of Osama bin Zayd has gone. They say, okay, let's see if we can capitalize on this situation. and they send a couple of fighters. You see these routes over here, they have outposts, right? Scouts that are stationed there. They go and they take over some of these outposts, okay? They leave Medina refusing to pay the tax and the zakat, and they go back to their camp over here, Dhu Qisa, and they take over some of these outposts that surround Medina. Now, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu hears about this, he sends out a force to go and recapture those. He assembles Ali radiallahu anhu, he assembles Talha radiallahu anhu and Zayd bin Awam. Okay, and he tells them, take this force with you. There's a few Muslims left from Bani Hashim. Okay, and go and get that area back. That area back is called Dhu Husa. Okay, we don't know exactly where that area is today. So we and I've AI Akram in his book, he says that he was not able to track down the area either. So that area is unknown. It's somewhere along that route. Now, when the Muslims go to get that area back, Tulayha, the false prophet that we had mentioned, that is sitting there in that Nufud area, that desert area, right? He's by right? Tulayha, this false prophet right here, he's amassing large forces of apostates. Okay, he's claiming prophethood, and so he gets reports that, okay, Medina is in fact defenseless, so he sends additional forces to Dhu Qisa, and now these apostates, they're gathering at Dhu Qisa to try to attack Medina. And Tulayha also sends his brother Hibal. Okay, and what happens is when the Muslims, they try to go take Dhu Husa, Hibal, he is a cunning general. He hides along the ridges of Dhu Husa, and what he does is he fills up a bunch of leather sacks with water, and he kind of does this water balloon attack, because he knows that the camels, the war camels that are war hardened, they're with the army of Osama, and he starts banging on drums and lets these water balloons kind of things, these water filled leather sacks, down the hills, and the camels, they freak out. They see these giant water balls made out of leather rolling down at them, and these drums banging, and the camels, they're caravan camels that are used for trading. They're not used to these loud noises. They get scared and they run away, right? So the apostates, they're able to hold that area, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh and the Muslims, they have to go back to Medina. And now Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, this why we're mentioning this is because I want to mention the military leadership and the strength of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Okay, he reorganizes the army. He makes 4 battalions, a center, rear, left guard, a rear guard, left guard, and a right wing. And all of those wings are they're commanded by the children of a Sahaba named Muqran. Okay, so 3 brothers, they're commanding these wings. Now they started making a base, a forward operating base at Dhu Husa. And I don't want you guys getting confused. So what they do is what these guys that they're doing is they're making. So this is their actual camp, right? They're making a forward operating base closer somewhere here. Okay, where my arrow is. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anh comes back after the retreat when the camels got scared, and he takes them out because they were busy making the camp. They weren't ready to fight. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh launched a preemptive night, early morning raid, and while they were sleeping or tired from making their camp, they got taken out. Okay, so now what they do is the kuffar, they go and they retreat back to this place, Dhu Qisa. Okay, they retreat back to this place, Dhu Qisa. Now what happens is Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he goes and he marches to Dhu Qisa and he takes over and he fights them over there. Now there's a conflicting evidence here. Some say that Hibal, the brother of Tulayha, was killed in this battle. Some say he was killed later. We'll go to that story as well. So Abu Bakr then marches out with his small force with Ali radiallahu anh, Talha radiallahu anh, Zayd radiallahu anh, and under the command of these Bani Muqarran, the sons of Muqarran. And one of them, his name is Suwaid. So this area, if I zoom in on it, today you'll see it's called Suwaidra. If I'm butchering it, forgive me. Let's see if I change it to map, it'll tell us. No. Yeah. Suwaidira, right? Or Suwaidara. Either one, right? So Suwaid bin Muqarran, he's one of those commanders. So I guess they named the area after him, and it stuck for 1400 years. So in those days, it used to be known as Dhu Qisa, but they renamed it to that. I just want to share that with you. Now, Abu Bakr has taken this area over, and these apostates, they retreated to this area called Abra. Okay, it's just an empty place. There's nothing there. This is the accurate geographic location where it is. There's no city there. There's nothing special, but it's believed that this is where they retreated to. Now, one of the amazing things that happens here is that the army of Usama bin Zayd has come back. 4,000 battle-hardened, amazing elite soldiers, the best in the world. They've come back, but they're tired. They're very tired, and they've been carrying, alhamdulillah, a lot of zakat and a lot of taxes. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. They've come back. Medina is no longer defenseless. Okay, so see how cunning these are. This is a matter of weeks. The Tulayha, the false prophet, knew that there was a small window gap where between Usama would come back from his mission and the moment they would have time to attack with a small force, right? So nobody's dumb, right? We can't apply wishful thinking. We can't just think that, oh, if we pray for the rest of our life without doing the political dawah to Islam, that somehow it's going to manifest by itself. Okay, it can. That's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the fard on us is that wishful thinking is not allowed. So now Abu Bakr, he comes back, and alhamdulillah, at this time now, Safwan, remember Safwan? Remember the crew, Ikramah, Safwan? These are the Sahaba that we've been talking about throughout this Khalid bin Waleed series. Safwan sends a large tax and zakat from Makkah that night. So, alhamdulillah, the armies are replenished with money, weapons, and food. And Abu Bakr needs, Abu Bakr, he decides not to take the army of Usama bin Zayd to Abra. He decides that let them stay and rest because they're way too tired and they need rest. I will go with my small unit. We don't know how many people they have, maybe 100 tops, maybe 200, something like that. And we will go and we will attack Abrak and drive these apostates away. And we don't know how many apostates have gathered now by this time, maybe 800, 1,000. We don't know how many Tulayha has sent to this location. So now the Sahaba are pleading, Ya Abu Bakr, don't do it. If we lose you, you're the leader right now. We know apostasy is coming. We know the whole Hijaz area is boiling. Don't do it. Please do not go and fight this battle. Abu Bakr says, no, I'm going to go. I'm the leader. And Abu Bakr, they asked him, aren't you scared? And Abu Bakr, he said that since the day of the cave, when he went on the hijrah with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never felt fear in his life after that day. After that day, he never felt fear in his life. So he never compromised on any of the commands that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had uh, had issued and held him, gave him the responsibility of. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, you know, he is the best Muslim, and the best Muslim is going to get tried the hardest. So this is the hardest trial that anybody can go through besides the prophets. We're not talking about prophets, we're talking about Muslims. And amongst all the Muslims, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he's the best Muslim. So um, he's gonna have the most severe trial. So all the Sahaba are aware of this and they know that. So they say, don't do it, don't do it. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anh goes out with his small force, and Alhamdulillah, they defeat the apostates here at Abraq, and they these apostates, they go back and they run away. Where do they run away to? They run away to a place called Buzakha. Buzakha is somewhere over here. This is an important area that we should know about right here. This is called the Aja Mountains. Okay, right here, these mountains right here. This is where the famous Hatim bin Hatim Tai, the famous mythical figure who was very generous. This is where he lived, and his grave is actually right here. I have his grave pointed out. You see that? Hatim Tai's grave. And he's famous because he was the most generous person and he wanted notoriety for his generosity. But his son converts to Islam, and his son's name is Adi bin Hatim. And their tribe, the Tai tribe, they reside over here. Okay, they reside over here. So now Tulayha is somewhere over here. Okay, he's somewhere over here. They all retreat back over here. He had another post called Samira, which I could not find where it is or records of it. And from Samira, he retreated to this area, Buzakha. Now, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he is getting reports of apostasy from all over the Hijaz. So what he does is, now the army of Usama is rested up. He calls everybody back and he amasses a huge army at Dhul Qissa. Because you don't want a giant army in your city. You gotta let the people breathe. You gotta let the people shop and pray. You don't need a giant army with all of their animals and everything in the city. So he made the base over here. Okay? And over here he split up all the armies that were gonna deal with all the fitnas. Okay? And now we're gonna crack this a little deeper now. Okay. So at Dhul Qissa, he calls the army of Usama bin Zayd, and he decommissions Usama bin Zayd and says, "Okay, you're no longer part of general of that army." And there will be 11 armies that are assembled. Okay, and what are they going to do? They're going to go to the 11 most dangerous areas. Okay, from these, and okay, here we go. Here's a good map of it. So this first red line that's gonna go, each color represents one army. Okay, so the first line here is Khalid bin Waleed, and this is the toughest. This is the toughest battle. You got to fight Tulayha. You got to fight Malik bin Nuwaira. You got to fight Sajjad the witch. You got to fight Musaylima the liar. Okay. Now, so this giant army that assembles, it gets broken up into 11 battalions, basically. Okay. Now, Khalid radiallahu anh, he sets off from Dhul Qissa, where this giant army has assembled, right on the outskirts of Medina, and he goes out to first subdue. He's going to first go out and subdue the tribe of Tai, Adi bin Hatim's tribe, the son of Hatim Tai. And Hatim Tai gets even more famous in lore because of the Arabian Nights stories with the jinns and the poems and all of that. poisons and fancy stories, right? So Hatem Tai, he's, I guess there's stories about him in that, and he gets even more famous. This is what he wanted. He wanted notoriety and fame for being the most generous person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has continued that to this day, in that is even happening as I'm talking. So now Abu Bakr radiallahu anh tells Khalid radiallahu anh to kill off Bani Tai if they don't join your force. Because Hatim, the son of Adi, the son of Hatim, he tells Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, these are my people. Let me go and talk to them. Let me talk some sense into them. Let me talk some sense into them. Let me bring them back to the fold of Islam. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh says, okay, fine, but he tells Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, but that if they don't come back, then kill them off. Why? Because we cannot have the tribe of Tai joining forces with Tulayha and Tulayha just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You got to snip off the low-hanging fruit as quick as you can. Okay? So low-hanging fruit was Bani Tai. Okay? Now, Khalid radiallahu anh gives Adi radiallahu anh 3 days. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh has already instructed him, if Adi's efforts are not successful, go and fight Tai in their present location. Do not let Tai join forces with Tulayha. And Alhamdulillah, Adi bin Hatim, he does a good job, and he convinces them to come back to the fold of Islam. And they come back with 500 cavalry warriors. Okay, 500. Khalid radiallahu anh sets out with 4,000 to 4,500 warriors to go fight Tulayha. Okay. Now, there's another tribe. Now, Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anh, he's smart. He's going to go get that low-hanging fruit. There's another tribe called Jadila. And he says that I'm going to go attack Jadila while you have your 3 days to go and convince your tribe. But Alhamdulillah, Adi, he says, no, let me convince them as well to join us. So Khalid radiallahu anh says, I don't have time. I don't have time to take those risks. I have to cut them off. I have to take care of them before they join Tulayha. But Adi says, it's a whole tribe less in the hellfire. And then Khalid radiallahu anh agrees, yes, you're right. So this is what I want to stress here, that this fighting and this defense of this state, this is not about power. This is not about greed and egos. It's not about money. It's not about luxuries. It's not about assertion and control. It is about saving people from hellfire. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is love. That they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that they are willing to fight evil oppression and remove it so that people stay and come back to the folds of Islam. That is what our Aqidah teaches. Our Aqidah does not teach that you stay in your four walls and you secularize your religion and you pray, oh Allah, help the Muslims and get rid of COVID. This is not what the Aqidah teaches us. No, I'm sorry, it is not. The Sahaba, the ijma of the Sahaba, the way they understood this deen and what we've been talking about throughout this series shows you what love for humanity is, right? We don't want any human going to hellfire. Iblis wants people going to hellfire. We do not. We'll try to save them and we'll even die trying. And we'll get Jannah for that. That's promised for us. And that's what this is about. It's about adding to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's adding to his worship. It's magnifying his glorification, magnifying the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the expansion of Tawheed. That is what I want to do. That is what you can do. That is what we can do together two together if we follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way we're supposed to, the way the text of the hadith and the ayat are, the way in his example, the best example. That is what we can do, and we will do it. We will do it. There's no doubt about that. Just as Abu Bakr radiallahu anh knew that they have already been promised Syria, they have already been promised Damascus, the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire. They have been promised this. They were not afraid. That's why Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was not afraid in Medina, even though Medina was defenseless with all these evil guys. He was not afraid because it had already been promised. And wallahi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has already promised us, and he has promised us that this Khilafah Minhaj al-Nubuwah will come back. And whatever we are afraid of, COVID and death, and it's not even the fear of death. We hate death because we are living in the time of wahan. We have to make dua against it. We have to love death. Okay, we take our precautions against COVID because we are commanded to. But we put our trust in Allah and we continue on this sirat al-mustaqim, on this path to victory on this world as khulafa. That is who we are. That is what it means to be witness over mankind. That we pull them out of the fire. We protect them from the fire. We protect them away from Iblis and Shaitan. We don't let COVID-19 get in the way of that. We do our best. Now, Khalid radiallahu anh. Oh, I got a question here. Hang on, I'm going to pause for this question. Oh, somebody's asking, what is the story of Adi bin Hatim and the jinn? No, it's not Adi bin Hatim and the jinn. It is his father. He is part of the 1001 Arabian Nights stories. So, Hatim Tai is famous from, that's what he wanted. He was a very generous person, and there's many famous stories about him. It is his son that is pleading with Khalid radiallahu anh to let the tribe of Jadila and tribe of Tai come back. So alhamdulillah, now from 4,000 to we have 1,500 extra warriors that are now joined the forces of Khalid radiallahu anh. So this brings it up to 5,500, right? We're going to say 5,500. Now, the 5,500, they are approaching this area, Buzakha, right? They set out from Dhu Qissa, right? The 4,000, they come. Khalid's forces of 4,000, they are dispatched. They go out to the Aja mountain range, which is over here, right? They go out to this Ada mountain range. Okay, they want to cut off Tai from Tulayha. Tulayha is over here somewhere. Tai is over here somewhere. So Adi bin Hatim, he saves his tribe, and he also saves Bani Jadila, okay, who's another tribe in this area. Okay, so now with the 5,500 versus, we don't know exactly how many Tulayha had, because there was there's a lot of confusion in the numbers, but we think 40,000. Okay, we think somewhere around that. But they're not. That's the highest, considering that Ghatafan is a huge tribe. Considering that Tulayha is from Bani Asad, all of Bani Asad will come to help him. So they line up the two at this Buzakha area, which is a plain. And I'm just going to go back and show you. There's a city now there called Hel, right? I'm probably butchering the name again, forgive me, right? This city, this is modern day city Hel. And this battle takes place somewhere over here. It says 25 miles southwest of this. So, or somewhere over here in this plain is where this battle takes place, okay? And Tulayha, this false prophet, he is in the back. He's not fighting from the front, okay? And Uyayna, who is the leader of Banu Faraza, that's the clan, that's the sub-clan of Banu Ghatafan, He has 700 of his best riders with him. Okay, he leaves the battlefield as he sees that Khalid radiallahu anhu is chopping up Tulayha's army. He leaves the battlefield and he asks Tulayha, "What does Jibril reveal to you? What does Jibril reveal to you? Because you're a prophet." And he says, "Has Jibril come to you?" And he says, "No, by Allah," says Tulayha. Now, every time uh, Uyayna leaves the battlefield, the Muslims get excited because they're winning, even though with their much smaller numbers. This invigorates the Muslims even more, and they start winning even more. So Uyayna leaves the battlefield a second time, and he goes back to Tulayha and he says, "Has Jibril come to you again?" And he says, "No." And then it happens a third time, and finally Uyayna says, "Yes," yeah, or Tulayha says, "Yeah, yes, he did come." And Tuleha says these stupid words. He said, "You have a handmill just like this, and this is a day that you will not forget." So it's some stupid poetry. Uyayna explodes in anger that all the armies are losing. You claim to be a prophet, and you're giving us junk verses, and Jibril is not helping, right? So he yells to his subclan Banu Faraza, "Tuleha is a liar. He's an idiot. Escape." Okay. So the 700, they leave the battlefield. Now, when the 700 strong riders of Banu Faraza, when they leave this battlefield, um, everybody starts leaving. Okay. And basically, they all disperse. Banu Asad and Ghatafan um, and whoever else was there with them, they all disperse. And there's amazing stories that all continue with each person here, with Uyayna and with Tuleha, that we'll cover lightly. But uh, but we'll move on, inshallah. Now, Tuleha, what happens is he escapes to Syria and he lives with Bani Kalb. Okay, and he returns to Medina 2 years later because his tribe Bani Asad accepts Islam, and he uh, he says he also accepts Islam as well, and he is one of the great heroes of Islam, and he he does amazing things that we'll get into later as a Muslim. Um, in the Khalid series, he's at the Battle of Qadisiyah, and he does amazing fighting, and we'll get into his story later as well. But his story, just for now, you need to know that he just goes back to Syria. He lives with Bani Kalb. He comes back 2 years later, and he accepts Islam when Bani Asad, his tribe, comes back and stops their apostasy, and he accepts Islam. Now, Uyayna, the leader of Banu Faraza, the Sabul clan of Ghatafan, he's running. He's running south. Okay, and he gets caught. Khalid radiallahu anhu issues some uh, fast scouts to pursue him, and he gets caught at this place called Ghamra, and he's sent back to Medina. He accepts Islam, and then he goes back and he lives peacefully amongst Bani Ghatafan. And these guys are always funny. There's a funny story about this guy, Uyayna, that during Uthman radiallahu anhu's time, he came to Hajj, and Uthman radiallahu anhu was uh, uh, and he came to Medina as well. And Uthman radiallahu anhu hosted him and asked him to stay for dinner. And Uyayna said, "Oh, no, 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 I can't. I'm fasting." And Uthman radiallahu anhu was like, "It's after Maghrib." And he says, "Yeah, I find it easier to fast at night." So you don't know what that means, but it's a story about him. Okay. Now, um, what happens between the Battle of Buzaha and the Battle of Yamama? Okay, there's this Khalid radiallahu anh, he wants, in this vicinity there are his ex special elite riders Banu Sulaim, right? So from Ghamara, Khalid radiallahu anh goes to a city called Naqra, and he fights Banu Sulaim and their leader Abu Shajara, and Abu Shajara is captured, and he's um, sent to Medina, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh pardons him. He becomes a Muslim, and many years later, we know about Abu Shajara that he becomes very poor, and he asks, begging for money, to Umar radiallahu anh, and Umar radiallahu anh whips him, and then he whips him twice. And why he whips him is because before this battle, when Khalid radiallahu anh is fighting against his old contingent, Banu Sulaim, this guy Abu Shajra, he makes these poems. He says, "My spear shall play havoc with all the regiments of Khalid, and I trust thereafter it shall also crush Umar." So Umar radiallahu anhu's like, weren't you the guy that composed these verses against me? And now you're coming and asking me for money? What? And he says, "Oh, no, 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 that was when I was a kafir." And I was like, "Poof," one more. And then the guy, he ran away. Abu Shajra, he ran away. So, um, Banu Sulaim, they rejoin Khalid radiallahu anhu's forces. They they uh, they repent, and uh, they become Muslim even, and they'll be a big part of our story going forward. I'm at the 8:50 mark, but I want to finish this series. So, inshallah, please stay with me here. Now, Khalid radiallahu from Buzakha, many tribes repent, but there's something very important to be mentioned here, that Khalid radiallahu he is commanded by Abu Bakr radiallahu to kill every single apostate that has killed a Muslim, because these tribes who all apostated, they started killing the Muslims within their ranks, who did not want to apostate with them. They burned them, they pushed them off cliffs, they did all sorts of heinous tortures to them. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he issued Khalid radiallahu anh an order, and he said, "I want you to do the exact same thing that they did to our Muslims." So Abu Bakr radiallahu anh did it when he was at Abraq, after the Battle of Dhul Qissa, which we were talking about earlier. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh took revenge for those Muslims and killed the exact same number of apostates that they had killed Muslims. And Khalid radiallahu anh did the same after Buzakha, that he rounded up everybody that killed a Muslim, and he either burned them, or he either pushed them off a cliff, or he either did whatever they did. And he made a detailed note of each one of those. And he wrote down the names and exactly what they did to who and what was done back to them. And he sent that letter back to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh received that letter and thanked him, and sent a letter back thanking him. So this is what happened. And now Khalid radiallahu anh, after he takes care of that business of all these tribes in this area, these Aja mountains area that did all this disgusting stuff to Muslims, he takes care of that. He he has to deal with this woman called Salma. Now, Salma, she is very lofty. She's very grandiose. Her mother was a queen, and she is a queen, and she's very beautiful, and she has this beautiful camel, and her mom had this beautiful camel. It's the same camel. It's a huge camel, very beautiful, elegant camel, and Salma is very eloquent and beautiful, and men would die for her. That's who she was. And she wanted her own empire, and she had amassed her own forces. And so Khalid radiallahu anh went to battle her, and this woman was actually a cousin of Uyayna. She was a cousin of Uyayna, and she was captured many years before during Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time, and she was made a slave of Bibi Aisha. And Bibi Aisha radiallahu anh, saw that she was sad being a slave, so she freed her. She freed Salma, and Salma went back and did this treacherous action against the Muslims. So now these men, they would die for this woman, and Khalid radiallahu anh made established his army, and the battle actually takes place. Let me show you where the battle takes place. Right over here. So this area is called the Salma mountain range. Okay, that's Aja, and this is Salma, and it's named after her. And the battle, they think it takes place somewhere over here. Roughly, there's a hill that matches the descriptions, but the city of Rock over here, that was her city. And Um, they think the battle actually kind of took place somewhere over here, 25 miles to the south of it. There's a hill that seems suitable. This is the area where the battle takes place. Now, during this battle, these men are fighting very gallantly for their queen, and Khalid radiallahu anh decides, I got to take that camel out, because the more they look at their queen up high on that beautiful camel, the more harder they're fighting. So he forms an elite group of fighters, and he tells them, surround me, and he jumps straight into them. He cuts down a bunch of guys, and he takes that camel. He cuts its legs off. He cuts the throat off. He does zabiha on that camel, and it is done. That camel falls, and then they kill Queen Salma, and Queen Salma is dead. Okay. So after Queen Salma dies, the men have nothing to fight for, so they just give up or they get killed, and if they refuse to end their apostasy. So that was that. That's some of the cleanup job. So after Buzakha and fighting Tulayha, they fight Banu Sulaim and their leader Shajra, and they fight Salma at Rak, and now Khalid radiallahu anh, he also the story of Al-Fajah happens here. Al-Fajah, he is the guy. I want to say this because I'm gonna clear up something else. That Al-Fajah, he's just a disgusting guy. He's a weirdo, robber, killer. He goes and asks Abu Bakr radiallahu anh for weapons, and he says, "Ya Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, I'll go and I'll subdue these tribes if you give me some weapons, and I have some men, and we'll go and do God's work." So instead of doing that, he goes and becomes a highway bandit robber. And so he has to be brought to justice as well. So he's going around killing people. Al-Fajr using Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's weapons. He's going around killing people, robbing people on these trade routes. So some of the forces, they go and they capture him and they bring him back to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And this is the guy that is burned alive by Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, that Abu Bakr radiallahu anh regrets on the day of his deathbed, that he wishes he did not burn Al-Fajr alive, rather he just killed him and he did not burn him, but not the other revenge apostate ones. This is something I want to clarify for people that they don't know the whole story. Okay. Now, so the issue of Al-Fajr is done. Now what happens is so if we look at this area here, so he's Khalid radiallahu anh, he has to now take care of Malik bin Nuwaira. Okay, now you have this little triangle of alliance and weirdo, just messed up, all sorts of kufr and haram and shirk and evil people situation. You have a little triangle of Sajah, Musaylima, and Malik bin Nuwaira. Okay, and to really understand this, we got to quickly go through each one of them stories. Musaylima, he is from this huge tribe in Yamama called Banu Hanifa. Banu Hanifa, and Musaylima, from a young age, he learns magic tricks, he travels all over the world, and he claims prophethood throughout his life early on many times, but he quiets his claims, and he would also learn Quran just to try to compose verses like it. But all of his verses are complete junk. He came to Rasulullah in the year of delegations. He stayed with the animals and did not meet face to face with the Prophet, although there is another narration that says he was hiding his face, and Rasulullah said, if this man were to ask me for a branch, a palm leaf branch, I would not even give him a palm leaf branch. But Rasulullah did not know who he is, but he knew that there's something evil about that guy. So there's two stories about him. Now, there's two other people that you need to know that accompanied Musaylima on this year of delegations. One is Nahar al-Rajal and Muja'ah bin Marara. These two guys, Mujajah and we'll just go for Nahar Rajal. Okay. Nahar al-Rajal, he stays with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he learns Quran and he stays with the Sahaba and he learns Islam, right? Musaylima and Muja'ah, they go back to Banu Hanifa in Yemen and they say, you know what, we've become Muslims, you guys leave our Christianity and accept Islam as well. So the people, Banu Hanifa, they agree, they're a huge tribe, hundreds of thousands of people. They agree, and but then as soon as they do that, Musaylima then claims prophethood again. And he claims it on the basis that Rasulullah said in the other narration that says that Rasulullah said that why did the other narration that says Musaylima did not come and meet the Prophet, Rasulullah asks Nahar, why didn't this your third man come and meet me? He was not the worst of you. Rasulullah says he was not the worst of you. So Musaylima says when he comes back to Bani Hanifa, and he says, "Oh, uh, the Prophet said about me that I am not the worst of you. So that means I am a prophet as well." And he claims prophethood as well. So the people start following him, and now this whole area of Yamama has gone from Islam to apostasy. Whew, messed up. Now Rasulullah, he and also Musaylima, he's very good at these tricks. He puts eggs in bottles, and you can go study about him if you want. So people get tricked by him and fooled by him. Now Rasulullah sends Nahar al-Rajal, who's learned Quran and learned Islam, to subdue Musaylima and teach the people the Sirat al-Mustaqim and get rid of this guy. But Nahar Rajal, he's so evil that when he gets to Yamama, he also joins forces with Musaylima and he legitimizes him. He starts making up lies saying that Rasulullah, yes, indeed, agreed that this guy is a prophet as well. They're co-prophets. So the people are even more emboldened and more strengthened in their belief in Musaylima. So Nahar Rajal, he stabbed the Muslims in the back big time. Now, this third guy, Muja'ah, he's going to come into play later. Okay, that was part of the delegation. Okay, that is the story of Musaylima ibn Kazzab. He is a false prophet. He's living in Yamama with Banu Hanifa. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and he's there. Okay, now you have this weird little girl named Sajah. Sajah is living in Iraq with her mom and dad. Her dad is from Banu Tamim, which is a Arabian tribe. Her mom is from Taghlib, which is an Iraqi Christian tribe. She's living with this Christian tribe. She also learns all these little tricks and mind tricks and games and words and sorcery and whatever she does. And when she hears that Tulayha has claimed prophethood, she says, "Oh, you know what? This is a great racket. This guy's making a lot of money. I can make a lot of money too and get very powerful too. I'll claim prophethood too." So she claims prophethood. And she composes some silly verses, and the people start following her. Her tribe from Christianity goes to shirk, to not from kufr to shirk. Subhanallah, when all of kufr has one millat, right? So Sajah, she claims prophethood, and so she's from the tribe of Tamim. So I'm gonna explain some geography here. And I know we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. You can pause this video and you can continue later. But inshallah, I'm going to continue giving this. So you can come back. You can come back with your kids or continue listening on your podcast or in your car, on your work, or if you're working from home, you got nothing to do, keep listening. Now, Sajah, she's in Iraq, right? And Malik bin Nuwaira, he's over here. Sajah, she's over here in Iraq with the Taghlib tribe, right? Malik bin Nuwaira, who doesn't want to pay the taxes, he's over here. So he's also from Tamim tribe. Malik bin Nuwaira. Okay? She comes down and joins forces with him. She says, "Hey, we have common enemies. Let's go and take care of them, your forces and mine, And then after we're done with all of our common enemies and we become really fat and rich, let's go attack Medina. And he agrees and he says, okay, fine, let's go do that. And they make this plan. Although Malik is he's not a scumbag liar like Sajah and Musaylima. He's like just about his own dignity and his own independence and his own freedom, worshiping his own nafs, right? That's what he's about. He's not a false prophet. So that's what Malik bin Nuwaira is all about. Malik bin Nuwaira, he has a beautiful wife named Layla bin Tamim, and their story comes into play later. Malik bin Nuwaira accepted Islam, and he was a tax collector from Najd. He was a tax collector for Najd and Bani Tamim. Bani Tamim was a huge tribe. So after the great calamity, the death of Rasulullah, he returns the taxes to his people and he says, keep your money. We're not giving money to Medina. We're not sending the zakat and the tax to Medina. So he joins forces with Sajah when Sajah brings her armies down from Iraq to Najd. They make their pact. And Malik bin Nuwaira, he does not accompany Sajah on these tribes. Sajah, what happens with Sajah is while she's doing these raids, she suffers a loss at a village called Nibaj. And then from Nibaj, she decides, oh, I can't keep this racket up forever. These local townspeople and stuff, they're going to unite and fight against me. I'm not in this business to die. I want to make money. So she says, let's go to Yamama. Let's go to Yamama. And when she's at Yamama, her followers kind of know that Musaylama bin Kazab is a mastercraft, liar, trickster, statesman, and her tribe, they know that Musaylima is gonna somehow get the better of her. So now Ikramah bin Abi Jahl has been sent to Yamama to put a check on Musaylima so that Musaylima cannot go anywhere. Musaylima cannot go help Tulayha, and Musaylima cannot move. Okay, even though Musaylima has a large force, Ikramah bin Abi Jahl radiallahu anh, his forces are camped outside of Yamama, and they got a check on Musaylima. Okay, and at this time, Musaylima sees Sajah's army coming, and he's like, okay, I got Ikramah on one side of me, ready to attack me, and they're just camped out there waiting. And I got Sajah coming in attacking me here. And he does some math. He does some political math. He goes, Sajah's an opportunist. She's not in this for blood and war. She just wants money. Let her come to me. I'll send her out a scout. He sends out a scout who invites her to the palace. And basically he seduces her and tricks her into marrying him. And she does. And he sends her back home. And when she gets back to her tribe, they say, what happened? She says, oh, I got married to him. And he's really a prophet. So they're like, okay, well, did he give you a wedding gift? She's like, no, he didn't give me a wedding gift. They're like, stupid lady, go back and get a wedding gift. So when Sajah goes back to Musaylima and gets a wedding gift, Musaylima doesn't even let her back in the fort. And just from the outside, he says, I have nullified 2 of the 4 rakat in the salah for you. So Zohar and Asr and Isha are 4 rakat. You only have to pray 2 of them. Okay, that's your wedding gift. So she's like, great. She goes back and she tells her tribe what the wedding gift was. And they're like, oh my God, what a fool. So basically Musaylima, he does some additional calculated math and he goes, you know what? That wasn't a smart play. I should give her something so that it prevents them from coming back and being in a bad situation with Ikramah and Sajah's forces against me. So he says, you know what? I will give you half the wheat of Banu Hanifa. I will send half the wheat of Banu Hanifa to you as a wedding gift. So just don't come back. So she's like, okay, fine. And they go back up to Iraq and she goes back and On her way back, uh, Khalid radiallahu encounters one of her flanks, and they suffer a big defeat at Khalid radiallahu hand. Now, Malik bin Nuwaira, he sees that Khalid radiallahu is winning all these battles. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna give up this plan to fight and go attack Medina. And basically, he tells all of his fighters go home. And there's a little bit of a controversial story that happens here. Uh, Malik bin Nuwaira, he is killed by Khalid radiallahu anh. We're gonna introduce a new person in our storyline. His name is Zahrar bin Azwar. And Zahrar when Khalid radiallahu anh comes to this village of Buat, there's a village called Buat where they're hunting and they're looking, where did Malik bin Nuwaira's army go? They don't know that Malik bin Nuwaira disintegrated his army. They're going to all the towns, they're calling Adhan, and they're seeing if this town is apostate or Muslim. And basically, what happens is there is a very famous and beautiful commander in this series that we'll get to know better, Zahrar al-Azwar. He goes and he captures Malik and his wife. Okay, and he brings them back to Khalid. He says, "I did not hear the adhan when I proclaimed the adhan to their encampment. I did not hear it, so I captured them and I brought them back." So here, what happens is Khalid says, "Are you a Muslim or not?" And this guy says, "You know what? I'm willing to pay the tax. I'm willing to pay the zakat." And Khalid is like, "Okay, that's fine, but why did you team up with Saja? She's an evil witch. Why did you have plans to attack Medina? Why did you?" So he said, "No, we didn't have any plans to attack Medina. We actually we made a common alliance to get rid of our enemies." So Khalid was like, "Okay." So Malik, he says some mean words here. He calls Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam your man. He says, and Khalid was like, "Whoa, what does that mean, your man? Isn't he your man as well? Don't you believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" And Malik says, "No, he was your man." Now, what happens after this is a historical contention. We don't know. Khalid radiallahu says something to Zahrar al-Azwar that go put this guy away. Now, Zahrar, we don't know if that he interpreted that to mean go kill him or just go chain him up. But Zahrar bin Azwar, he kills Malik bin Nuwaira. Now, after Malik bin Nuwaira is killed, Khalid radiallahu anh marries Malik bin Nuwaira's wife, Layla. And at this point, there is a Sahaba who gets very upset about this, and he he goes to launch a complaint to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh gets very mad that Sahaba left his post. And Umar radiallahu anh also says, "No, we have to investigate this." And basically, Khalid radiallahu anh is ordered back to Medina. He comes back to Medina. And when he comes back to Medina, he has an arrow in his turban. And Umar radiallahu anh is standing outside the masjid, and he takes that arrow out of Khalid radiallahu anh's turban and he breaks it in half. And some heated words were exchanged, which I won't discuss here. But Khalid radiallahu anh goes in and meets Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and basically Umar radiallahu anh explains that you're being accused of you didn't give the woman 40 days idda before you got married to her, and you don't know if that guy was a kafir or not, clearly, and he was killed. So this could be this could be a charge of killing a Muslim. So Khalid then goes in to talk to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh and clarifies the whole story of exactly what happened. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh accepts his story and says, "Okay, you're pardoned," and let's Khalid radiallahu anh go back to Bu'at and take over his army again. So Khalid radiallahu anh returns back to Bu'at, and now remember, Ikramah is a check on Yamama. So Ikramah is sitting there. Ikramah does a preemptive clash against Musaylama, but gets driven back. When Abu Bakr radiallahu anh finds out about that, he gets very upset. and he sends Shurabil radiallahu anh, who's a third army, to go and reinforce Ikramah, right? Shurabil also gets tempted and does a little preemptive attack, clash with Musaylama, but gets driven back, and Khalid bin Waleed rebukes him for it greatly. Now, Khalid bin Waleed has taken care of Malik bin Nuwaira, and he can now proceed to Yamama, right? So at Bu'at, so this was Khalid bin Waleed. He loved Dhulqisa. Then we went to Buzakha. Then he fought Salma, the camel queen. Then he caught Unais at Ghamra, and then he went to Naqra and caught the leader of Banu Sulaim. Okay, I'm not sure what he did here at Zafar. Maybe this is I'm not sure what he did here at Zafar. I didn't find the story. But at Bu'at, now this is where his army is camped, and this is where he rejoins them. And you see all these arrows now, they are at Yamama. So you have Ikramah, you have Shurabil, you have the Ansar from Medina come, you have Khalid Radian. They amass a huge force of 14,000 fighters to fight Musaylima. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a quick. I'm going to show you a quick breakdown of what happened. So from and I don't know where Buat is exactly on Google Maps. I tried looking for it a lot. I thought it might be close to Buraida somewhere here, because there are some references to an area called Al-Qura, but you can't be sure. So anyhow, I couldn't find it, but what we do know is that Ikramah is over here. Oh, okay, this is where the battle took place. Now this is right here. Why is it doing that? Okay, well, this area is called Uyayna, and this area today is called Jubaila. Okay, and this is where the actual fight happened. Musaylama actually grew up over here in this Uyayna town over here. That's why I just haven't mentioned that this is where his town was. This is where he ruled out of. Okay, and over here, this is where the battle happened, basically, right here. Okay, there's a little river. You can see here. This is a valley. There's mountains over here. You can see that there's mountains over here, and this fertile land in the middle is a valley, and there's this little river curving. Okay, and you see this little street over here. This is it used to be a river, but it's you can't really see it now. Okay, to this day, the Muslim cemetery is over here, and there's I don't know why it says Yamama martyrs. From what I read, that the apostates, they're buried somewhere in this vicinity, but the Sahaba are buried over here. Okay, Yamama is a huge battle, right? We talked about 14,000. This is the culmination, the big culmination of the Rida Wars. And what happens at Yamama, we have to finish it today. If you want to come back, if you want to pause here, please do so. And inshallah, join us back. It's a good place to pause. But I'm going to go ahead and continue with what happens at Yamama. Okay. On the day of Yamama, the battle cry was Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad. Okay, so like Badr was Ahadun Ahad, Ahadun Ahad, Ahadun Ahad. Uhud had its own battle cry. The several of the wars had their own battle cry, because this was the followers of the righteous Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam fighting a false prophet. The battle cry was Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad. Now, the 14,000 army is Shurabil radiallahu anh, it's Ikrimah radiallahu anh, it's Ansar, and it's Khalid radiallahu anh's forces, all mixed together. There's three wings that are made, okay? And basically what happens here is that, basically what happens here is that the two armies that line up, it's about 13,000 fighters versus 40,000 fighters, okay? Khalid radiallahu anh makes three groups, a center, left, and a right, and Musaylima does the same thing. Khalid radiallahu anh attacks first. It's a general head-on full assault. The first wave of the battle is a stalemate. Some of the Banu Hanifa, they're reaching Khalid's tent, and it's a stalemate, but it's getting the Muslims are put under a lot of pressure. Some of the famous fighters at Battle of Yamama are Zayd bin Khattab, the son of Umar radiallahu anh, Abdul Rahman bin Abu Bakr, the son of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Ammara, who was guarding the Prophet at Uhud. She lost an arm over here, and she made so many sacrifices. She lost two sons as well for Islam. She's one of the great, beautiful heroes of Islam. May Allah reward her immensely. You have Abu Hudhayfa and Salim. Abu Hudhayfa was a son of Utbah bin Rabi'a, right? And him and Salim, he had taken Salim as an adopted son, but then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said there's no adoption in Islam, he said, Salim is my friend, Salim is no longer my son. So they actually died together. Abu Hudhayfa radiallahu anh and Salim radiallahu anh, they died together, and Abu Bakr, I think Khalid radiallahu anh commanded that they be buried together. Okay, Ammar bin Yasir fights over here. Ammar bin Yasir, who's the son of Sumayya radiallahu anh, right? Ammar bin Yasir is the one who gets tortured and burned by Abu Jahl, right? Abu Dujana is fights here. Abu Dujana dies. We'll tell you his story. Washi is here. Muawiyah is here. Yazid is here. So lots of big names are here. Khalid radiallahu anh is leading the center, and now what happens is Musaylima notices that if he just keeps on fighting on the defensive, the Muslims will just keep getting more momentum, and he'll lose. So he orders a counterattack. Okay, before Khalid ordered a general offensive, and Musaylima's forces were in a defensive position. Now Musaylima is ordering his forces, do not be in a defensive position, go and push into their ranks, okay? So the Muslims started falling back, and then the Muslims even started retreating. And this is when Musaylima's forces got to the tent of Khalid radiallahu anh. They wanted to kill his wife, Layla Tamim. But remember the third delegate that came to meet the Prophet from Banu Hanifa, Mujah? Mujah was in that tent. He was captured. On the way to the fight. Okay, he was captured on the way by Khalid's forces. He was captured, and his tribe did not want to return back to Islam. They were all killed. His tribe, his army, they were killed, and Mujah was taken as a prisoner. Now Mujah, when Musaylima's soldiers enter the tent of Khalid radiallahu anh and his wife is there, Mujah is chained up. Mujah is one of the leaders of Banu Hanifa. He says, don't touch her, she's under my protection. Now what happens is the same thing that happened at Uhud is what happens over here at Yamama. Musaylima's forces, instead of fighting, they get busy looting. And as they get busy looting, Khalid radiallahu anh uses this time to reorganize everybody, and he organizes everybody by their tribe. The Ansar get reorganized as the Ansar, and the Muhajirun get reorganized as the Muhajirun, and all the other tribes, they get reorganized, and they start a fresh assault, and they start killing Musaylima's forces. Very bad. Okay, now everybody gets tired, and there's a lull in the fighting. So what happens is Khalid radiallahu anh, he says, great time for him to come in and see if he could do something. He steps in the middle here. I'll go back to this. So he steps. So they're fighting. So Musaylima's forces are over here. Khalid's forces are over here in the south. Okay, this is the south. Khalid's tent is over back here somewhere. Okay, Khalid's tent is over back here somewhere. That's how far Musaylama's forces got. So Musaylama is over here. Now Khalid comes back and says, "Okay, who's going to challenge me?" While everybody's tired and has taken a stop to catch their breath, Khalid says, "Who's going to come challenge me?" One after another Khalid starts chopping down their champions, just killing them. Now, as their army is getting demoralized, Khalid calls out Musaylama, "Hey, do you want to do a diplomatic solution to all this?" So Musaylama comes out in the middle to meet him. Okay? And he says, maybe. And Rasulullah had warned that Musaylama will always be with shayateen and that he only listens to his shayateen. So Musaylama starts, okay, like this and like this and like this. He starts listening to his shayateen and he says, no deal. He shakes his head like this. As soon as Khalid bin Waleed understands that this is no longer a diplomatic engagement because Musaylama has denied the offer, as soon as he denies the offer, Musaylama continues listening to his shayateen. Khalid goes to attack him, but Musaylama, he runs. Now, when Musaylama ran, that looked really bad, and his forces got demoralized. And when his forces got demoralized, his forces started losing, and the Muslims started winning. And basically, there's a large walled-off garden over here in the back here, where you see this. Somewhere over here, which is probably, it doesn't exist anymore today, but somewhere over here, there's a large walled off garden, okay? And his 40,000 have now shrunk down to 20,000, okay? Or no, I want to say maybe, 24,000. Sorry, 28,000. 28,000, his forces have shrunken down to about 29,000. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that math later. They start retreating, and Musaylama tells them all, "Hey, everybody, come into my walled-off garden over here." Okay? Now, there's 21,000. Only 7,000 can fit in the walled-off garden. So 14,000, so 21,000 actually run away. Okay? Of the 28,000 that are left, okay, of the 40,000 originally started. Now there's 28,000 left. 7,000 get invited to seek security in his walled-off garden. Okay, so that means 21,000 dispersed. They couldn't handle the heat of the fighting, and they ran away. So the 14,000 Muslims, they now lay siege to the fort of Musaylama the liar. Now there is a famous brother, Sahaba named Bara, who says, boost me up to the edge of the wall, and Bara gets boosted up to the edge of the wall. He climbs over the wall and he jumps down and he kills 3 soldiers and he loosens the gate. And he loosens one of the gates and the Muslims start pouring in, and it's all jam-packed now in there because it's 7,000 people jam-packed. It's hand-to-hand bloody battle, right? It's daggers. There's no room to swing a knife, even a sword. It's like daggers and punches, okay? All out bloody battle. Now what's happening is Musaylama, he's foaming at the mouth with his shayateen helping him fight, and he's an amazing swordsman as well. He's killing many Muslims. Okay, he actually hurts Ammara. He almost chops her hand off, and it's very fierce fighting going on in there. Now, as this fierce fighting is going on there, Washi, the assassin of Hamza radiallahu, is observing everything from far away. He's watching, and he's looking for the opportune time. He knows that even if he strikes Musaylama, Musaylama, he's in a rage, a crazed rage that Musaylama will continue fighting even if he gets struck. So what Washi does is Washi waits for the right time. Washi sees Abu Dajjana, the famed, beautiful swordsman of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sees him approach Musaylama. As soon as Washi sees Abu Dajjana about to strike Musaylama, that's when he releases his spear and he strikes Musaylama right through the gut, and Musaylama is now unable to fight off Abu Dujana because Musaylama is an expert swordsman as well. He is unable to fight off Abu Dujana with the spear in his stomach, and Abu Dujana strikes Musaylama. So Washi kills Musaylama, and Abu Dujana gives him the final blow. And Abu Dujana is about to yell, I've killed Musaylima. And as soon as he's about to do that, Abu Dujana gets struck down. So that's how intense the fighting was. It was so jam packed. Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Now, all out slaughter happens. Musaylima is dead. His forces in there are just, they have to give up or they're going to die. And most of them get killed. Now the bloody mess is over. Now what happens is the next day, Khalid radiallahu anhu, he's inspecting the battlefield and he comes along and he sees the dead. He's asking to see who is Musaylima. And he sees the body of Nahar al-Rajjal. He says, was this the guy? And they're like, no, this was not the guy. Nahar is actually killed by Zayd bin al-Khattab. And Zayd bin al-Khattab is actually martyred as well in this battle. And there's a street named after him in this. Actually, you can see it on the map. Zayd bin al-Khattab Street right there. Okay? So Zayd radiallahu anhu, he's martyred over there as well. So now when Khalid radiallahu anhu sees the face, the ugly face of Musaylima, he's like, you guys actually followed a man this ugly? He doesn't laugh, but he just is in shock that this guy is so ugly, Musaylima. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put so much lanat on his face. He's in shock that you guys followed a man so ugly. And actually, when he's killed, the people of in the wall said the dark face. They're calling Washi the dark faced one. The dark faced one has killed the bright shining face. So when Khalid sees the face of Musaylima, they said his nose looked like a pig, and he said, "You guys follow you people followed this pig nose ugly guy. May Allah make you this ugly." So now a lot of very 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 hard time. 1,200 Muslims have passed away. 300 Hufaz have passed away. This actually starts Abu Bakr rather to commission a copy of the Quran because of the martyrs that the Hufaz that have fallen. Also, now what happens here that's of importance that we should know is that this guy that was captured, Muja'a, he tells Khalid that, hey, you only killed a fraction of Musaylima's fighters. Banu Hanifa is a huge clan. And there's other forts in this whole area, okay? There's other huge forts, and there's other forts over here in Unayna, and you only killed about 20,000, okay? So, sorry, you only killed about, on the battlefield, yeah, you killed about 20,000. So there's still maybe 80,000 left. What are you gonna do? Then Khalid is like, okay, well, what are you proposing? He says, Muja'a, he says, I can negotiate a surrender for you. And then he says, okay, fine, negotiate a surrender. On what terms? He says, okay, if you want, if you don't enslave anybody, you can keep the horses, keep the gold, keep the wealth. You can take all that. Just don't enslave anybody, and I'll find out if they're agreeing to this deal or not. So Khalid radiallahu anhu says, okay, fine, go find out. So the guy leaves. Muja'a, he goes to inside the forts, and he tells everybody what happened, and then he comes back outside and he says, no deal. They'd rather fight. So Khalid radiallahu anhu says, what the heck is going on here? Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu goes and inspects the forts, and he sees there's fresh people, fresh warriors in armor. And he's like, man, we just had such a brutal fight. We can't, I'd rather have them surrender than have another fight. So Khalid says, okay, fine, I'll accept your surrender. Your people will not be enslaved, but we will take your gold and your wealth and your armor and your weapons. So when Khalid radiallahu anhu says, okay, you have 3 days to open the gates. So then he says, then Muja'a, he comes back out and he says, okay, fine, my people accept the deal. You can go enter the forts, right? When Khalid radiallahu anhu goes to enter the forts, all the forts are empty. And Khalid goes, what happened to all those soldiers I saw? He goes, those were our women and children. They were wearing battle armor to deceive you. So Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu, he was tricked, but it's okay. Then Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu tells Muja'a, give me your daughter in marriage. And Muja'a tells him, are you serious? You want my daughter in marriage when Abu Bakr radiallahu anh is not going to be happy about that. He's going to, when, he's going to be upset. And Khalid radiallahu anh just said, Ya Rajal, oh man, give me your daughter in marriage. He was a man of few words, but he was very caring. Khalid radiallahu anh was very caring, and he married the woman, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was indeed upset about that. But Khalid radiallahu anh wrote him a letter saying that, I did. It's not like I put a lot of effort towards marrying her, and I was within my right. And um, uh, uh, Khalid radiallahu anh also explains, I got tricked. I don't know the ghaib. I'm a human. I didn't make any tactical blunder. I'm just a. It was just some. It wasn't a. It was something out of my control. So Abu Bakr then accepted his excuses, and he tells Abu Bakr then, I didn't marry this woman. I didn't do it. Uh, I didn't do it at the expense of anything. Okay, I yes, grieving is there, and there's no way I can bring anybody back. And he writes a very beautiful long letter to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu understands. So the issue is settled, and Khalid radiallahu anh stays at Yamama while the other Rida wars continue, which are much smaller campaigns, which we will not get into. But you can Shurabil is sent off. The armies are split up again. So this is where we will end this, inshallah. I want to just reiterate that we as Muslims today have a lot to learn from these Rida wars. What's going on today? That we cannot accept a secular Islam. Okay, these apostates, they wanted their own version of Islam, right? Those people, they could not deny the beauty of the Quran, right? Why was the followers of Musaylama praying? They could not deny the beauty of the Quran. We cannot make up our own religion. We have to accept this religion as it is. And it is the worship of Allah that moves us to establish Tawheed and to enforce the worship of Allah as it should be as He should be worshipped. So this was the primary focus. This was a rahmah. It was not rage. It was not power. It was not luxury. May Allah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Oh Allah, we ask you to send peace and blessings upon all those shuhada of Dhul Qissa and Buzakha and the battle with Salma and the battle of Yamama and all the Hufaz and Zayd bin Khattab and Abu Dajjana and Washi and Abdul Rahman bin Abu Bakr and all of the Muslims that sacrificed, and Adi bin Hatim, who saved so many people from going into the hellfire through the mechanism of the armies of Islam and its Khilafah state, right? That is the pure love for insan and Islam and your worship that we wish to have. We wish to have that same love, the true, and we ask Allah, we ask you to protect us from lying to ourselves with other types of false lies that we cover up and hide from our responsibilities. إن الحمد لله إن الحمد لله إن الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزينة عرشه ومداد كلماته أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي قسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, next week we will start the Iraq campaign. So Khalid is in Yamama, and Abu Bakr Adiyan gives them the instructions to start against the Persian Empire next week.